Good afternoon, everybody. This is Reverend Deborah Schultz with Behind the Scenes at Rescue 180, and I have a very special guest today, and I'm excited about having her on. It's Chloe, and I'm not going to say her last name because, well, she's technically not underage. She can say it if she wants, but she is actually our service learning student with Jefferson County High School, getting ready to graduate soon, and we're just going to have some conversation. Introduce yourself, Chloe.
Hi, I'm Chloe. I'm a senior at Jefferson County High School. I am currently in service learning as an intern for Rescue 180.
And we've loved having her. She's got so much energy that I just can't keep up with her sometimes, but that's okay because she's out there plowing the field and making sure some things happen. So today I thought we would kind of go over some of the things that she's actually been touching base with some of the youth at the school and doing it in her own peer way of communicating with her peers. And I think that's very effective because if an old person like myself walked up to a young person and say, "Hey, what do you think about vaping?" And they'll be like, "Excuse me? Who are you?"
Yeah.
Anyway, Chloe, I want you to share just a little bit. I'm going to toss some questions her way. So we're just going to do this sort of improvly speaking. So on some of your videos that you've kind of approached the kids on, we've talked a lot about vaping, haven't we?
Yes, we've talked a lot about vaping, but also bringing Lambie into it.
Yeah.
Lambie really focuses more on the alcohol aspect and
Yeah.
Lambie's more focused towards younger kids because
Yes.
Lambie's a bunny rabbit.
Yeah.
Lamb,
Oh.
you know, but it's more focused to kids talking about, their parents who do have alcohol problems, substance
Yes.
problems. So
Mhm.
I think that more of things have touched more bases on alcohol.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit about that initiative as well.
Yeah.
And I agree with you on that. I think that's good. So, just real quickly, let's talk a little bit about what has been your overview of how I almost said kiddos, but you're not really kiddos anymore. So, overview of your teens and their concept on vaping and how they see that we as quote adults or prevention people are trying to be party poopers, or tell me what you
Yeah.
think about it or how they
Yeah.
think about it when you
Yeah.
propose to.
So I remember doing a dare whenever I was younger, and I remember them like thinking about how vaping has evolved since then, there's more appealing flavors now and there's a lot more things to vapes now that make them more appealing to people my age.
Mm.
And I feel like everyone's selling them or everybody's like doing them. I mean, statistically, it's like 1 out of 17 kids who vapes, which is crazy. And I mean, they have flavors like peach, bubble gum, and they make it more handy to get and people don't
Mhm,
ID. And
mhm.
I mean, there are tons of ways to get vapes now. And like, whenever we did DARE, it was like, "Oh, just say no, you don't have to do it," but
Obviously, they're not saying no then.
yeah.
Well, and that's where our work here at Rescue 180, I think is where we really try to focus on accessibility. And I will say this, there has been a law that's been passed, and one of our biggest concerns, it has been the THC, of course.
Yeah.
In other words, this is a hallucinogenic process. If they use THC or Delta 8, Delta 9, all those different things that you can buy in the stores now, the hemp derived, which actually there's some that's been banned. When one of them is the X0, which means the
Yeah.
minute it's lit, you're gonna get the same effect that you're gonna get with marijuana.
Yeah.
So that's one of our biggest concerns, of course, when it comes to youth. And so there has been some laws passed to regulate that now, that it will not be able to be in the stores anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. But guess what? As well as I do that you can get just about anything, unfortunately, on the wicked old web.
Yeah.
So here's the punch, I guess, the impact, not to down dare or anything, but, one of our processes here has been to encourage youth to choose positivity and choose life. And nobody that's in your age range wants to acknowledge that, "Hey, I gotta be serious." Well, guess what? When you're 16 and you get your driver's license You have to start thinking a little bit like an adult. Although
Yeah.
y'all's brains ain't gonna go together until you're 26. You do get that right. I think it's
Yeah.
25 for women and men 26. I still say 65, but whatever. But nonetheless, we have to think boots on the ground. We have to think about we can talk theoretically all we want to, but if it's not gonna bring change and help a young person like yourself make a better choice, then what's the point in it? We're wasting
Yes, of
money.
course, I agree.
Yeah, we can't waste this time or money because it can be a life that we will lose. So, if you were gonna be able to have straight talk with your peer, what would you say to them in terms of why would you wanna pick up that habit right now and put that into your body, what you've learned it from Rescue 180 about dopamine and opening the door to addiction? Tell me what you
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, addictions come in many different ways. Even dopamine rushes come from scrolling through your phone.
I do, but they're not hallucinogenic,
Yeah.
although I possibly could be on some point, but the
Yeah.
hallucinogenic act part of it, I think, is the in the fact that it affects your motor skills and things like
Yeah.
that. That's my
And I
worry,
think that there are some things at school that actually help do prevent that, like service opportunities and being held to a higher standard. Like, when you're held to a higher standard, you feel like you're being held to a higher standard, you want to do more higher standard things.
Absolutely, amen.
And I think that that
Uh-huh,
has impacted,
yeah,
drug use, like, in high school a lot.
I agree. I agree. And in reality, of course, as you well know, we're faith based, so we don't necessarily take the Bible and beat people over the head with it.
Yeah.
But the whole message that Christ had was, "Wilt thou be made whole?" Meaning body, soul, and spirit. So they're all three connected, and that it's hard to kind of go out of your body and have an out of body experience, and not come back and
Yeah.
indirectly kick you in the rear end and affect you physically. So that's the thing about drugs and alcohol and how they affect you psychologically and indirectly can eventually affect you physiologically, meaning your liver, your heart. I mean,
Yeah.
cardiovascularly, it could affect you in a negative way. So there is that line that we draw about scare tactics. So
Yeah, and
so talk to me because you're going to be a nurse. Tell
yeah.
me a little bit how you would go about presenting that to a student without them sitting back there giggling, just thinking, "Oh, I can't wait to get out here so I'll go hit my bait."
Oh, yes, yes, I hear you. So, how I would present it, like, to my peers and even, like, becoming a nurse and presenting it to people younger, I really view it more as a get more involved. I mean, you kinda have to step up to the plate at some point and realize, you're really, like, hurting your body, and for a lot of people, like, as a nurse, I probably won't encounter something like that until it's too late,
Yeah.
And, like, that makes me really sad, but now I feel like I have more of an opportunity to, be like, "Hey, this is what it does to your body. This is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, go ahead and take a step back now before these happen, and this
Right.
this is the consequence."
Mhm.
And put your focus towards something else, be more involved somewhere else. I mean, high
Yeah.
school is the most perfect opportunity, build your resume, think more about your future, build that GPA that you want, get
Absolutely.
get more involved in your community because
Yeah.
I mean, I even get a dopamine rush, sitting here talking to you, having a conversation,
Yeah.
but also that's just my talkative personality, you know?
Yeah, but
But for
you're
a lot of people,
but it's a
they
self-esteem issue too.
yeah.
I think that's one thing we try to encourage here is your giftings and your callings. And, I love to pull the positive out of everybody. That's what the pops Peers of Purpose is about, which is, that we're doing in the schools, is that we want to herd all the people that we can find that are willing to sign a promise saying, "I'm not going to vape." It's not holding a gun to your head, but it's giving you opportunity to choose. I choose not to vape. I choose not to put this stuff in my body, because I choose life. I
Yeah.
say yes to life rather than saying no to drugs. And I think when you look at the bigger picture, and at least as a theologian, I'm going to look at the bigger picture of understanding that God created us before we were put in our mother's womb, that
Yeah.
He has the bigger picture. I don't even at little old Rescue 180, but I'm trying to implement things that I believe are healthy and gonna navigate you toward a child or an adult to be a young person who's now a teen somewhat is an adult in an adult body for the most part at this point, except for the late bloomers, of course. But
Yeah.
but their minds are still very youthful, and so they're not built to consume or absorb, completely absorb, even yourself, to absorb everything that I would absorb now I'm geriatrically speaking, but I'm older.
Yeah.
But learning over your life, what season that you can actually absorb something, because I don't wanna waste my time talking to a 2-year-old about calculus.
Yeah.
Well, what's the point? It doesn't even know how to add. And I feel like some of these programs that have been advocated over the years, it's just kinda like a way of just, satisfying your own checking your box as an adult or an organization to say, "Well, we gave them this program and they just did," and so I can check that box. But what good of it is it if you hear down the road that all these folks, these kids end up not even listening to what you're saying, and it just becomes like desensitization to a process of understanding that if the problem is bigger than the solution is what I'm trying to say. So
Yeah.
we have to inject everything we can into the solution, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking you, what is lacking in our substance that we, pardon the pun, are trying to stop kids from engaging in this choice of why are you still trying to self-destruct? Why are you still, even though we all did it on some level? So
Y
we're human,
yeah. Yeah, I
What
hear
would
you.
you do?
So, back to your self-esteem, self-esteem can also come from, the growth in social media and, you see people living this great life and you realize that you're not living that. You wanna go homeschooled, you see that vaping really isn't that bad. Oh, it makes you feel good. Like, there's tons of things you can see on the internet, and I think that the social media comparison has caused a lot of self-esteem issues, and really how to start fixing, self-esteem comes from getting more involved with people who want you there, but finding, you
Somebody
know
that believes in you.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
finding those people, though,
Mhm.
can be hard, and up until then, honestly, for people that do struggle, it's not above me to go to a therapist and, talk about my problems and, get someone else's
Amen.
input.
Absolutely.
So there's always some help out there, and I think that a lot of people that don't reach for help are trying to, self-medicate and
Yeah.
trying to get that themselves.
That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up about mental health because I 100% applaud the mental health services that we have in the school system here.
Yes,
And I
yes.
know there was people who tried to stop that. I don't understand that at all. I was a young widow and I had 3 small children. My older daughter was 11, my twins were 6, and if I hadn't been able to step into an arena remember, I'm faith-based and I'm a minister.
Yes.
Yes, does God heal and do all these things? Oh, duh. Of course he does. But he also uses the natural means around us. We have to eat food. We're
Yeah.
not just eating manna from heaven. Jesus used mud to put in the blind man's eyes. He didn't have to make that parable, but he did for us to let us know, guess what? Access your things around you to help rebuild yourself if something happens in your life, which he knew it would because we're humans. So I'm 100% mental health, and so there's a lot of negativity around mental health. And you once did a bulletin board for us on mental health, and I know you're very much an advocate for that, so we're switching gears a little bit. But just in the last 2 minutes, tell me how you feel. I think that's a passion of yours to put it out there, the importance and why it doesn't make you look like a, quote, let's use the slang words, crazy person.
Yeah.
Tell me what you would do to bring them on the same playing field with you mentally of understanding the importance of mental health being implemented and getting help, period.
Yeah. So mental health is a cycle. It is seriously a cycle.
It can be genetic as well, but it's
Yeah.
environmental largely, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And people who do have mental health issues are higher risk for addiction and, long-term mental health issues and addiction kind of play hand in hand here. And you struggle to focus, you struggle with your motivation, and and I've actually had conversations with people about this before. You kinda just have to pick yourself back up and find something that makes your life worth living.
Yeah.
You have to find something that makes you feel good day to day, even if it's not being at your house, but, that vape isn't gonna make you feel better
Right.
over time. I mean, obviously, I work in a long-term care facility, and I see the ultimate effects of people who do smoke.
Yeah.
I mean, they look so much older.
Yep. Mhm.
You can tell who's like, there's a lady has to get a liver transplant because she's drank
Wow.
for so long.
Yeah.
So, you kinda see those people who are at the end of life and realize, "Hey, these are the long-term effects, and I see these day to day," so I kinda just bring out,
So
like,
so
my
that sort of closed your book for you, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because you saw the end of the book.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing about reaping what you sow. It's not a threat. It's just a reality. It's a process. It's a natural law that we
Oh,
all
yeah.
can't run from, you
Yeah.
know? It's not even really a faith thing. It's about the natural process that's gonna happen if you make bad choices. This has
Yeah.
been such a great conversation.
Yes.
I love this girl so much. She's such a blessing to us
Oh.
and has brought so much insight to us about youth, and thank you, honey. I love you so much, and
Yes,
we're
love
gonna
you,
do
Deb.
probably another part 2 about Lambie a little bit,
Yeah,
so
that sounds great.
alright. Sounds awesome.
Alrighty, nice talking to y'all.
See ya.